Good morning, everybody. I didn't intend to make a video today, but I heard somebody say something on another video that I don't normally listen to, and I want to make sure that I'm clear about what I said about the bird flu situation. I don't want somebody misunderstanding what I said and running around telling people that Roots, Rocks, and Feathers said there's no such thing as bird flu. I never said such a thing. I know there is such a thing as avian influenza. It has been around forever. It is in the wild bird populations. It's been there forever, y'all. What I said is how that the government is trying to use it. That they hype it up. You know what hype is. If you live in our world today, you know what hype is. They've hyped it up for years as something more than it is in order to discourage backyard flock keeping and scare people into thinking chickens are dangerous so that they have to keep them inside all the time. You see these free-ranging birds? You see my environment out here. We live in the mountains. You think there's not wild birds out here with them? You don't think crows come down in their pen to eat some of the scratch that they don't pick up? You think wild birds aren't among my chickens? Sure they are. I free-range my birds for now, I guess it's going on 17 years now. And not once have they picked up a contagious anything from anywhere. Now, that said, sorry, y'all, my battery went dead. I didn't even realize it was that far down. Okay. Like I said, bird flu's been around forever. It is a real thing. They hype it up to make sure that you're scared to keep backyard flocks, and from time to time, they push against backyard flock keeping. Come here, Raina. Come here, Raina. Come here, baby. Come on. I don't know. They get out here and then they realize they act like they can't remember how to come back this way. Come on, Raina. Come here. Come here. Anyway, but it's come to my attention recently that there are gain of function projects going on. They had put a moratorium on them, and now they have actually in the last, I don't know, 8 years or so, or 6, 7, I forget, 6, 7, 8 years, they've re-upped these experiments. Gain of function simply means weaponizing contagions. Whether it's bacteria or it's viral, weaponizing contagions. That's what it means. It means making them more pathogenic by usually combining them with other more just as lethal or more lethal pathogens to make them able to infect easier, better, different species. And I understand that they have successfully, I think, if I read it right, they've successfully made H1N1 jump into a mammal, a ferret. Okay? The next logical conclusion is, now why did y'all jump? You crazy Easter eggers. The next logical thing is to make it jump into humans. Now, can avian influenza be contracted by a human? It can, but only if you handle infected animals. Mostly commercial people who work in the commercial industries are more likely to be exposed to that than anyone else. Not backyard flock keepers, but people who are in the commercial industries, because commercial industries, the way those birds are managed, is much more unhealthy than this. This is healthy. Even among wild birds, this is much healthier. Fresh air, sunshine. You know sunshine is a disinfectant. Fresh air, sunshine, rather than in a big building crammed together with no daylight, with no actual natural light, that is unhealthy. But remember, I know of some state vets, the state veterinarian for the the USDA, the government state. Each state has a state veterinarian. The government veterinarian. Yes, Forrest, I see you found something you think. And many of those are anti-backyard flocks. Do you know why? because their job is to promote the health of commercial flocks, the commercial poultry industry. I heard somebody today say, well, they care about your backyard flocks. No, they don't. No, they don't. There may be exceptions because each state has a state vet. I don't believe there's one without a state vet. But they don't really, because that's not their purview. That's not what they're there for. And I don't care if you think, oh, well, or I'm NPIP certified. They come and they test my birds every year. They care about my flock. You know they don't. Do you know what NPIP is for? I have a whole video on this. NPIP was to protect the food supply, not to protect your backyard flock. It was to make sure to monitor your backyard flock just in case the commercial industry was in danger and they could come and euthanize your entire flock. And sometimes they give you orders and they say you have to. You don't have a choice. Certain diseases are state reportable. That means if you have to report it or you get fined and and they will come to your what are y'all alarming over? They will come to your driveway with a portable gas chamber and they will have you bring birds to them and put them in there to suffocate in a gas chamber. You think that's horrifying? Heck yes, it's horrifying. And they won't necessarily test your birds either before they do it. It doesn't matter. If there is something in your flock, if you've had one bird test positive for something that is one of the more lethal things like ILT, yeah, they will come and they will euthanize your entire flock. And then they'll proceed to tell you what you can and cannot do in the future on your own property. This is why I'm telling you, you need to take personal responsibility for the biosecurity of your flock. You need to take responsibility for taking care of the health of your flock. Make sure they have a dry environment. Get them fresh air and sunshine. Let them come out on range. They're getting greenery out here now. That's the best thing for a chicken. Don't buy birds from flea markets and auctions. Those are disease-rich environments, people. Not everybody keeps their chickens in good, and they'll lie to you too, or they're just ignorant. They don't know. They'll say, well, my chickens have a cold once in a while, I'll treat their cold and they're fine. No, chickens don't get colds. Most everything they have is something akin to herpes virus that stays in the body forever and makes them carriers. They're typhoid Marys. They can make other members of your flock sick even when they don't have symptoms. So, you have to take responsibility for your own flock. 17 years and not one contagious disease in this flock, and that's because I don't buy started birds. I bought from a hatchery this last time, one that I made sure did not vaccinate for Marek's disease. Coincidentally, it's the only feed store around here owned by a veterinarian. Who knows better? And if that one had vaccinated for Marek's, I wouldn't have gotten any hatchery birds. Or I would have gone to another county somewhere else to find them. If I could. Because they've brainwashed everybody to think that that's the way you prevent Marek's, even when the vaccine does not prevent Marek's at all. All it does is make them carriers, and they don't get the symptoms, but they can still get the disease. And once you start vaccinating for that, you have to always do it. So, I never said there was no such thing as avian influenza. There is. But normal avian influenza is not usually an issue for a properly managed flock like this. But weaponized viruses by evildoers are definitely an issue. And they're going to be an issue for human beings, not your flock, for you. So, my late friend, Lady Hawk, I miss her so much. I missed her so much yesterday. I wanted so much to talk to her about this stuff. She had personal conversations with the University of Kentucky veterinarians, the state vets. She was in a swap group, and they had a Facebook group associated with that chicken swap group. They would meet on certain days, to sell birds or whatever, and they kept out diseased-looking birds. They made sure that people with birds that looked unhealthy weren't allowed in, that kind of thing. But the state vet joined that group, that Facebook group, and he made it clear his feelings on things. So I don't get a lot of that information I used to get anymore because, you know, she's gone from this world, unfortunately, and I can't talk to her anymore. But I learned a lot through her, from her having the ear of these people, and from her actual vet that treated her Arabian mare, a very well-known Kentucky horse vet, who also treated her chickens. And you know, he sewed up Lancelot when he fought with a fox and all kinds of stuff. But you know, he would consult with me long distance even. So I always called him my long distance chicken vet. I mean, he was amazing, and I learned so much from him too. And I learned enough from him to know that our state vet's full of crap. I don't know if it's the same state vet is now that it was then, but the first one I ever consulted, he retired. He was a good one. The second one, not so good. You know, they do free necropsies in Georgia. You take yours to the Georgia Poultry Lab, they'll do free necropsies on your birds. I wouldn't recommend it, because they don't really do them. They'll do visual inspections, and then they'll come to a conclusion, and they'll scare the crap out of you by concluding that your birds have something that they don't, without doing any tissue inspections. So I wouldn't recommend it, honestly. You get what you pay for, and they're free. So, you know, the thing is that the poultry labs are all about the commercial industry, people. Yeah, they'll do them for backyard flocks, but then, you know why? It's so that they can watch out for what harm a backyard flock might do to the commercial industry, not to help your backyard flock. So I don't want anybody quoting me as saying that there's no such thing as bird flu, that it's a scam. The scam is not the bird flu. The scam is what they're trying to do with it. The scam now is that they are weaponizing it. They're trying. Bill Gates doing with bird flu just what Fauci and his ilk did with the other ailment that we're still having to deal with, that they're still trying to say is still a pandemic when it really isn't, because they'll lose control if they don't. In my opinion, when you weaponize something like that, there's no other reason to do that except to take human life. What else could there be? There is no other reason. There's no logical, legitimate reason to weaponize a virus to jump into another species except to kill members of that species. And when you weaponize it to kill human beings, you are guilty of conspiracy to commit murder, and you should be hung. That's the way I feel about it. And if you think that's an unchristian attitude, let me tell you what the Lord Jesus Christ said. He said, if one of you offend one of these little ones, it's better for him to have a millstone hung around his neck and be tossed into the ocean. That's wishing death on someone who harms a child. And they've harmed children. This is harming children. Now they're aiming these cures at young children when they don't even need them. So there's a lot of evil going on in this world right now. But you know what? The proper way to manage your flock is in fresh air and sunshine, keeping it clean, giving proper food that is geared to the age and the function of the particular chicken. And don't buy chickens from shady sources. And watch out what hatcheries you buy from, and what feed stores you buy from, and watch how they keep them in the stores. And don't expect a feed store to know anything. Don't expect them to be experts on feed. I know that sounds weird, but don't expect them to be, and definitely don't expect them to be a good source for information on diseases. They don't know anything half the time. I asked one time I asked somebody in Tractor Supply where the Corid was for treating coccidiosis. And he said, well, I have some antibiotics here. I said, I don't need an antibiotic. What is wrong with it? I didn't ask you for that. See, they don't know anything. They'll sell you anything. And they'll give you, and they'll act like they know something. But they don't. Even people who've kept chickens for a long time, sometimes they don't know anything. Trust me on that. I've seen plenty of people giving really bad information on YouTube. Bad information. So, I have a really good friend who's a veterinarian and a chicken keeper, and I consult her often. There's another veterinarian I know of who always verifies my information. If I post something, she's always there to go, oh yeah, you know, thumbs up. I know what I'm talking about on a lot of fronts. I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be an expert, but I do know experts. I do personally know some. And I've had a lot of experience in the last 16 years in breeding, not just hatchery stock, but breeding, having to know genetics of certain colors and having really good stock and knowing the difference between the hatchery stock and the good breeder quality and knowing what keeps a bird healthy. I mean, I don't know too many people who have 14-year-old birds. I've got 2 that are 14. I've got a couple of 11-year-olds, a 10-year-old. I've had hens live to be 13 and lay eggs every year up until my Amanda laid eggs every year up until she died, except for the last year of her life, and she was 13 years old when she died. Of natural causes, not disease, not egg issues, obviously, but just old age. How many people have chickens literally die of old age anymore? The state vet, the first state vet I ever encountered, was actually quite shocked when I had a 5-year-old chicken. He couldn't believe I had a 5-year-old hen. I mean, I thought that's like the minimum in my flock. And now it's definitely the minimum in my flock. So please don't misquote me as saying that that bird flu is a scam. No, avian influenza is not a scam. What they're trying to do with it is the scam, okay? They're trying to keep you from being self-sufficient. The commercial industry does not want you to have backyard flocks because you don't need their eggs, you don't need their meat. And of course now, if you have chickens, you also don't need their fertilizer. You don't need any fertilizer either. I don't use artificial fertilizers. All my compost is pre-fertilized. So that's what I wanted to say today, and I'm sorry this was longer, but I heard somebody say something, and I want to make sure nobody is telling other people, misquoting me, okay? Please don't misquote me. But I've heard too many things from these state vets and people who've talked to state vets and university vets, and I know what's going on and what they've been trying to do for many years now. And now if they're weaponizing this stuff, yeah. So this right here is a properly managed backyard flock, okay? They're healthy, they're laying eggs like gangbusters. Yeah, this is hatchery stock. I don't know how long lived these birds will be because they don't have the greatest genetics. But I've never had birds from this hatchery before. It's the first time I've ever had birds from Cackle Hatchery, ever. I would never advise Ideal in Texas. All of mine from Ideal pretty much died of egg malfunctions. Except for the longest lived of my original flock. And I'll have to tell you about the lessons I learned from that one hen in another video. Y'all have a great day. And I'm going to run these guys back into their pen with everybody else. And we'll catch you guys later. Have a great day.